From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
On News Hour tonight, President Bola Tinubu assigns portfolios to ministers designate, names Wike FCT Minister, Badaru Defense Minister. Widows share survival stories after bandits' attacks as Chief of Army Staff visits troops in Niger. Federal government will arraign suspended CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele on Thursday over 6.9 billion naira procurement fraud allegation. And on the international scene, dozens killed as clashes between rival factions rock Libya's Tripoli. Hello and welcome to News Hour on Trust TV. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. Now the news in detail. President Bola Tinubu has approved portfolios for his incoming cabinet, which will see the return of a coordinating minister of the economy. The list approved late on Tuesday evening has former Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike emerging as Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, the first Southern minister since the return of democracy in 1999. There's also a coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare in the person of Dr. Ali Pate, while the Transportation Ministry has been split into two. Former Osun State Governor Adeboyega Oyetola is Minister of Transportation, while Bumi Tunji is Minister of Marine and Blue Economy. Two former governors will man the Ministry of Defense, with former Jigawa State Governor Badaru Abubakar emerging the senior minister and former Zamfara State Governor Bello Mutawale Minister of State. The Petroleum Ministry is to have two ministers of state. Heineken Lokpobiri is now Minister of State Petroleum, while Ekpo is Minister of State Gas Resources. The Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs is conspicuously missing on the list released on Tuesday, which might mean the ministry has been scrapped. And now we'll move on to security. The renewed attacks on farming communities in Shiroro, Munya, Wushishi, Rafi, Mariga and parts of Mashegu local government areas of Niger State have again worsened the humanitarian crisis in the state. The hardest hit are women whose husbands had been killed, leaving them to shoulder the responsibilities of their children without legitimate sources of income. Trust TV's Abubakar Akote was at the Kuta IDP camp, Shiroro local government area, and now reports.
There are dozens of women and children in IDP camps in Shiroro, Rafi, Mariga, Munya, Wushishi, and Mashegu local governments. Shiroro local government alone has 5 IDP camps located in Kuta, Gwada, Zumba, Erina, and Gurmana. Among these IDPs are widows whose husbands were killed by bandits and now works as nannies and engage in one menial jobs or the other to survive with their children. Those women have no source of income, as most of them have no formal education, neither do they have skills. Lazia Awal and Safia Muhammad, mothers of 5 and 7 children, are among the widows whose husbands were killed during attacks in Shiroro and Munya local governments.
My husband was killed by bandits, and while I was in my waiting period as a widow, bandits struck again and kidnapped me. I spent 3 months in captivity. They came around 2 a.m. and abducted 11 of us, all women. They released us after the payment of 400,000 naira ransom. My husband was shot in my presence. It was a heartless killing. We live a difficult life here in IDP camp, but we have no choice. My husband was killed 3 years ago while working on his farm, and I am left to shoulder the responsibility of feeding and clothing the children. My first daughter, who was supposed to write her SSCE this year, was dropped out of school. The remaining children are...
Other women in the camp also have bitter stories to tell.
Each time we returned home, we get attacked again. Just 5 days ago, 5 people were killed by bandits in my village. The 6th one is still in the hospital. Of the 5 people killed recently, 2 of them were my children. The day they attacked our village, we slept in the bush and trekked kilometers the following day to IDP camp. We don't have food. We don't have peace. My 15-year-old son was killed while coming back from farm.
In the actual sense, up to date, we are still facing a lot of security challenges because even as just ongoing this immunization, even when some of our items was taken to one even ward, in fact, even the bandit and the Boko Haram even stopped them and even killed one of our facilitators. So that means it's just 3 days ago. That still shows that this insecurity up to date, we are still facing that challenges. If you can look at the IDP, as per last month, we are not having more than 100 and something people that was remaining in the camp. But look at it now, there are more than 1,000, 2,000 on the camp now.
The overseeing Director General, Niger State Emergency Management Agency, Garba Saliu, also confirmed that the humanitarian situation in the state had deteriorated in recent time. Abubakar Akote, Trust TV News, Mina.
The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, has urged troops of the Nigerian Army to remain resolute in bringing the nation's adversaries to their knees and restore sanity in troubled areas across the country. Lagbaja made the call on Wednesday during an assessment visit to Niger State following troops' encounter with insurgents in Zungeru General Area, where some gallant troops paid the supreme price. A statement by the Director of Army Public Relations, Brigadier General Onyema Nwachukwu, on Wednesday said the chief arrived in Minna, Niger State capital, late night on Tuesday. Nwachukwu said that Lagbaja immediately moved to Forward Operating Base Arena in Shiroro local government area of the state, where he was briefed on the current security situation by the General Officer Commanding 1 Division, Major General Bamidele Alabi. He urged the troops to rally together and be more resolute in bringing the nation's adversaries to their knees and restore sanity in troubled areas. He said that the fight against insurgents and bandits was a just cause in the defense of Nigeria and Nigerians. According to him, protecting lives and defending the nation are the noblest service anyone can offer. Lagbaja assured the troops of his commitment to them and their families, the best in terms of welfare within the available resources, adding that welfare is topmost in the pillars of his command's philosophy. He directed the immediate reinforcement of the troops with additional combat enablers to enhance their operational effectiveness. The Nigerian Air Force says it will not give in to the propaganda being shared by terrorists in Niger State with its video showing the wreckage of one of its helicopters that crashed on Monday. It said with the heightened levels of air operations occasioned by an enhanced fleet, the likelihood of air mishaps and accidents at times becomes unavoidable and inevitable due to various reasons. In a statement signed by NAF spokesman Air Commodore Edward Gabquet, neither confirmed nor denied the authenticity of the video being circulated, reiterating that the Air Force will definitely unravel the root cause of the incident and draw some lessons from it for future operations. NAF said concerns expressed by well-meaning Nigerians on the need to address the propaganda informed the issuance of the statement. The statement further stated that, like all military organizations involved in counterinsurgency and counter-terrorism operations, incidences of fatalities, mishaps and crashes are sometimes inevitable. He cautioned Nigerians sharing the video to consider the morale of other troops on the field as well as their family members, insisting that the enemies will be decimated as soon as possible. The senior military officer said they are determined now more than ever to eliminate the criminals out of the troubled spots in Niger State and other areas across the country. And now we have in the studio Dr. Sani Aliyu. He is he's the Commander General, Neighborhood Enlightenment and Safety Organization, NESO, and also a security expert joining us to share his perspectives on the incident in Niger State. Good evening and thank you for joining us, Doctor.
Thank you very much, and good evening for having me in your studios too.
All right, so bandits actually killed 21 soldiers in Niger State on Sunday, even though the soldiers also killed scores of the bandits. It was the second time that the military recorded high casualty figures in the hands of bandits. Now, could these bandits be in collaboration with external forces or mercenaries to be able to unleash such mayhem? Are they that sophisticated?
Well, truly speaking, the bandits could be said to be sophisticated because of their meshing with other violent organizations like the Boko Haram and so on and so forth. And especially considering how porous our borders are, with over 1,050 open borders without anyone mining. So you will say that a lot of foreigners will come they will come together and continue this havoc in the country. And so again, if you look at why the recent happening is caused by the situation of we're having in hand now, where borders are closed between Nigeria and Niger. The hardship around that area has actually made the emancipation of terrorists and bandits to move from that area into the other northern parts, Maiduguri, Niger, especially northwest and the northeast zone. So you will be expecting more of this type of attack unless we take a drastic measure on pushing them inward, because the situation is so disturbing that it requires the Nigerian military to actually be the one that will be chasing them instead of allowing them to be advancing into our general areas, especially the villages around that area that are suffering a lot of casualties. A lot of families have lost their livelihoods. Most of them are in camps now all over the place, and there's a lot of hardship in the country.
Yeah, definitely. So, but why does the fight against bandits linger? Because I think there was a time of recent where, there were very few reports of banditry. But why is it now that it's actually lingering? And how about the strategies that the military are using? Would you say it's working or not?
Well, of course, the military have been doing their very best. They have been performing greatly. But I have an exception to that, because I wouldn't say it is good for us to continue engaging our military in fighting all these miscreants. The need for the President Bola Tinubu and the new NSA, Nuhu Ribadu, to look into a situation where we can create a specialized force, counter-terrorism force, is very important. We must learn from the happening between the altercation between the Nigerians and the Nigerian side, and how they have been so insulted regarding our military inability to conclude this disturbing violence from Boko Haram terrorists and then these bandits. So if we are able to separate the military and allow the military to continue with their constitutional assignment of protecting the territorial integrity of Nigeria, and then deploy another new force, a specialized counter-terrorism agency that will go into all these hinterlands, that will be deployed within their region to eliminate all these things, it will have seen more of effect in downgrading this whole situation. Again, having said so, before the advent of such organization, I think the military need to open up like we did with them in the Northeast, where my organization collaborated with them in so many fronts during the campaign of war against terrorists in the Northeast. So we need to look at that robust collaboration once again and see how we can assist the military in getting to their bases. Because as I speak to you now, we can help the military in tracking and taking them to their hideouts in these places. So unless we follow, we are the hunters, they will keep hunting us. So we must redeploy a strategy of hunting them down. We don't give them solace, we don't give them breathing space. we push them, follow them to anywhere they are, and that's the only way we can push them out of the country. If we cannot finish them at once, but at least we can push them backward, and then we'll have a lot of succor in the country.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for being here with us on News Hour. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So that was Dr. Sani Aliyu, Commander General, Neighborhood Enlightenment and Safety Organization, NESO, and also a security expert. Now, moving on to more stories and still talking security, the Katsina State Police Command says its operatives have foiled a bandits attack in Korogo village in Jibia local government area of the state. A statement by the police public relations officer, ASP Abubakar Aliyu, revealed that the operatives recovered 60 rustled ship, 1 AK-47 rifle with 110 rounds of 7.62 millimeter live ammunition. It also added that the body of one of the bandits was recovered, and the PPRO noted that investigation is still ongoing. Earlier, we spoke to Trust TV's Abdullahi Yamadi. He gives us an update on the latest efforts by security operatives to tackle insecurity in Katsina.
As indicated in the police press statement, there was an attack on Korogo village in Jibia local government, which the police responded minutes after receiving information about it. This effort by the police has saved a lot of lives and prevented the bandits from abducting residents of the community. And like you also heard from the police statement, the bandits rustled animals, but they were recovered some minutes after. And there was a fierce gun duel between the police operatives and the bandits. As such, residents of the farming community said since the police encounter with the bandits, which resulted in the killing of one of the suspected terrorists, residents are living in fear and apprehension. As such, they want the police command to deploy police operatives at least to prevent further attacks, and then keep vigil on the activities of the bandit whose movement is seen around the area almost on daily basis. Already the police are saying their operatives are still combing the area, but the villagers are also saying it is not enough. They want them to be stationed there at least for some time. Similarly, the recovered animals have been handed over to the owners according to information from the community. So in fact, these are some of the few informations I was able to gather from the residents of the community.
The federal government will on Thursday arraign suspended Central Bank of Nigeria Governor Godwin Emefiele and his associates for 6.9 billion naira procurement fraud at the Federal Capital Territory High Court in Abuja. Emefiele will be arraigned alongside a female CBN employee, Saadatu Yaro, and her company, April 1616 Investment Limited, on 20 charges of procurement fraud, conspiracy, and conferring corruption advantages on his associates. The embattled Apex Bank chief, who has been in detention since he was suspended from office on June 9, 2023, was accused of conferring corrupt advantages on Yaro, a director in April 1616 Investment Limited. The offense is contrary to Section 19 of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000. In the charges signed by the Director of Public Prosecutions, Federal Ministry of Justice, Muhammad Abubakar, Deputy Director, Public Prosecution, Nkiru Jones Nebo, and 8 other ministry officials, the 3 accused persons were alleged to have bought a fleet of over 98 exotic vehicles and armored buses valued at about 6.9 billion naira. Some of the vehicles bought between 2018 and 2020 include 84 Toyota Hilux vehicles, 10 armored Mercedes-Benz buses, 3 Toyota Land Cruisers, and 1 Toyota Avalon car. Marketers at the Ilela International Market have been decrying low patronage occasioned by the border closure. Abubakar Imam reports that the weekly market has been operating despite the fear of possible military intervention by Economic Community of West African States to restore democratic rule in neighboring Niger Republic. The report.
The international market, which holds every Sunday, used to attract people from Niger, Mali, and even Burkina Faso, who either bring in their goods or come to buy our local products. Goods worth hundreds of millions are traded in this market, thus making it one of the largest international markets in the sub-Sahara region. But those foreign nationals have stopped coming since the border with the Niger Republic was shut down, leaving the local traders and customers lamenting over the poor turnout. One of the traders, Yahya Amarawa, said they were only attending the market as a symbolic gesture, but not for trading to make profits. Amarawa said the reason for the low turnout of customers in the market is the hike in the prices of some of the commodities due to their scarcity following the border closure. The market is not getting even one-third of its usual population. This has been a source of worry to us because we are not making any profit. We are only attending the market as a symbolic gesture. We pray and hope that our leaders will reconsider their decision because local businesses are negatively affected by the border closure. It also hikes prices of commodities. Can you imagine that a bag of corn costs as high as 50,000 naira now? We have never experienced this before. If you are selling 100 bags before, now you only sell 25 or 30 bags because we are no longer getting the patronage of the foreign nationals. They fear possible military action against the Nigerian military junta. Even those that usually come in on donkeys and motorcycles through the bush paths have stopped. It is the same lamentation at the animal section of the market as the soaring prices as a result of their scarcity said to be scaring people away from the markets. The business has not been flourishing for long because of the naira depreciation. The situation is further compounded by the recent border closure. Before, we were buying a donkey in Niger Republic at the cost of 40,000 sefa, which was roughly 30,000 naira. But 40,000 sefa is equivalent to 50,000 naira now. We used to get donkeys from Niger, Mali, and Algeria until they stopped coming in. Prices of sheep have also gone up due to their scarcity in the market. From Ilela border post, Abubakar Awal Imam, Trust TV News, Ilela, Sokoto.
Kebbi Area Commander of the Nigerian Customs Service has undertaken a sensitization tour to canvass support and understanding of border communities on the closure of Nigeria-Niger border. Area Controller of the Command, Ben Aramulugbo, said the sensitization became necessary to pacify border communities whose means of livelihood depends on trading of food and commodities around the borders. Umar Afanda Muhammad reports from Birnin Kebbi.
Controller Dr. Ben Oramulogo said the sensitization is a child of necessity to calm the nerves and create understanding for achieving the interim closure, especially for the fact that businesses and means of livelihood of border communities are so much interdependent on each other. According to the controller, he had assured the border communities of Kamba entry point and environs that diplomatic engagements have been on to ensure that the closure had not been unnecessarily prolonged. He said although the revenue target of the command is yet to suffer serious setbacks for now, but certainly there must be consequences if the impasse remain unsolved for too long. Dr. Ben announced that intensive suppression of smuggling activities had been providing the command major breakthroughs in higher revenue generation and a feast on drug control and blocking mechanism, especially with the seizures of 138 packets of tramadol, 81 tablet size of cannabis sativa, and a Toyota Camry 2007 model used for conveyance of the drugs. Others include 46 bags of foreign parboiled rice, 50 kilograms each, and another 40 bags of 25 kilograms of rice, as well as 88 bales of second-hand clothing and 4,200 liters of petrol, in addition to another 525 liters of diesel. Dr. Ben also took the pains of taking pressmen around to show them all the seizures that have been achieved. From Brendan Kebbi State, Umar Afanda, Trust TV.
All right, away from that story, as part of efforts to address the rising cost of living in Nigeria, residents of Jabore, a community in Gire local government area of Adamawa State, can now buy cereals at half the market price. The philanthropic act is aimed at cushioning the effects of subsidy removal on petrol and the rising inflation in the country on families. Silas Lawang has the report.
The struggle by breadwinners to feed their families started getting worse in May this year, shortly after President Tinubu, in his inaugural address, declared that fuel subsidy was gone. A businessman, Shaibu Idris, who says he is feeling the hardship of the less privileged, decided to sell his foodstuff at a subsidized rate, believing it will go a long way toward reducing the difficulties faced by households.
We are rolling out these palliative measures to seek Allah's favor only. We are buying this cassava at the rate of 700 and sell at 350 naira. Pasta at the rate of 450 and sell it for 250 naira. We are also buying rice at the market price of 1,500 and give it out at 900 per measures.
Beneficiaries say the initiative has since its first day started putting smiles on their faces. They call on governments and other well-to-do individuals to emulate the gesture.
Yanzu rayuwar da ake ciki wani gashi an saukar da farashin ma yanzu haka babu kuɗin da zai siya.
There are many that can't afford the foodstuff at this cheap price. They are empty-handed. Our well-to-do and government personalities should help the poor. The way this man is supporting us.
Mudu uku kam babu shi. Na auna masara, na kai injin jiya wanda aka auna da yamma mun kai injin mudu 10 yanzu da safen nan naje na samu an sata masaran.
Yesterday I bought maize and took it from Merlin. It was stolen this morning. Government should not let the masses down.
Ya kamata gwamnati ta dubi talakawa da idon rahama don abun da ake cikin nan.
However, an eyewitness, Haruna Audu, alleged that while selling of the subsidized foodstuff was ongoing, some individuals were buying the cheap foodstuff to sell them at a higher price, not far from the venue.
If you take this food to your house and feed your kids or your neighbor, eat it, or to your neighbor, God will reward you when you are helping people, but some are diverting what you are giving. You will feel discouraged.
With this development, the neighborhood is not just joyous, but hopeful that the action will inspire more businesses to follow suit. Salis Lawan, Trust TV News, Yola.
Following the implementation of the fuel subsidy removal by the present administration, Nigerians have been cutting costs to enable them survive the hardship occasioned by the policy. In Benue State, Trust TV's Jimmy Adzande reports that one of such cost-cutting measures is that vehicle owners now board commercial motorcycles to their offices and business destinations due to the rising cost of premium motor spirit. He filed in this report from Makurdi, the state capital.
Where some have parked their cars, others now use them occasionally to cut down the amount spent on buying premium motor spirit or fuel.
The problem is that you may decide whether you are working for fuel or whether you are working to get money to, settle your family bills. So, but the reality is that the fuel is taking the chunk of our earnings. So, like for me, I have a timetable now that I come to school 3 days in a week with the car, 2 days on bike, but on self though. But we have to devise means of adapting to the new situation.
The Makurdi metropolis, where motorcycle operators popularly called Okada exist, most residents told Trust TV that they now prefer the option because it is cheaper and affordable.
It's actually very true that a lot of persons have parked their vehicles due to the high cost of PMS. If you want to be very frank and very true with yourself, you discover that it is more cheaper going with Okada, as people will call it now, more than going with your private cars. A lot of persons that have their vehicles have parked them because of the high cost. Let's take for example, like some people with their personal cars have parked, they prefer using the public transport instead of going with their own private cars. Because when you take how much you use to fuel your car to take you from, let's say for instance, from Makurdi to Boko, it's called that the amount you use to fuel your car is very high compared to when you go with the public transport.
As the situation improves, there are indications that more car owners will abandon their cars for public transport options.
Hike in the prices of petroleum products have made so many people to, of course, stop using their vehicles. Yes, it's true. I am an immediate victim of that. And I'm telling you that if this thing is not going to stop, more persons will park their cars as a result of this. Maybe it will be left for only government officials, people who are benefiting from the treasury of our government, that they will be using their vehicles. So it is very true that owners of vehicles have stopped using them, principally because of the hike in the prices of petroleum products.
To many, the Okada option that was just sitting has become the best option for intra-city shuttles. Jimmy Azande, Trust TV News, Makurdi.
You're watching News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up after the break, we'll take a look at the war on counterfeit products in Nigeria. Do stay.
That's right. You too could be one of the 20 Zenith Bank customers that will win 150,000 Naira every 2 weeks from June 1st, 2023 until May 31st, 2024 in the Zenith Better Life Promo 3. To qualify, simply open a Zenith Bank account. For more information, visit www.zenithbank.com/betterlife. Live the better life with Zenith Bank.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. If you're just joining us, you're watching News Hour on Trust TV. A recap of some of our top stories. We told you that President Bola Tinubu assigns portfolios to ministers designate, names Wike FCT Minister, Badaru Defense Minister. We also told you that widows share survival stories after bandits' attacks as Chief of Army Staff visits troops in Niger State. Moving on, the newly deployed Commissioner of Police in Plateau State, Okoro Julius, has asked criminals in the state to relocate, warning them that whoever is caught perpetrating a crime would be made to face the full wrath of the law. The Commissioner disclosed this on Wednesday while briefing journalists on efforts to prevent farmer herder crisis and other forms of criminality in the state. Ado Musa completes the report.
The new Commissioner of Police, who assumed office on Thursday, said careful analysis of the security situation in the state reveals that kidnapping, banditry, armed robbery and gun running, theft, farmers' herders clashes, cattle rustling as well as attacks on villages are more prevalent, especially in Bariki Ladi, Riom and Mangu local government areas of the state.
Assure criminals that the Plateau State Police workforce under my administration will not rest until it fishes out and deals severely with them in accordance with the laws of the land.
The commissioner also warned corrupt officers who take advantage of being police officers to engage in corruption, saying such action will not be condoned under his watch.
Notwithstanding, officers who are associated with corruption and other unprofessional conducts should turn a new leaf, as this administration will not condone such shameful conduct which negates Section 4 of the Police Acts and Regulation 2020 as amended.
While emphasizing on strategies put in place to ensure peace, the commissioner said he has identified places that may require police stations, adding that If need be, the command will build police stations in the areas.
I noticed that there are certain local government areas that need more police stations and security presence. All those areas will be taken care of. We'll come up with strategies and also get in contact with our authorities to ensure that if there is need to build more police stations there, we'll do that.
The command, while calling on residents to give maximum support to the police to eradicate criminality in the state, also said investigation into the death of Sanmak Silas, the doctor working with Jos University Teaching Hospital, whose body was found in the neighbor's house, is ongoing. Adom Musa, Trust TV News.
Now moving on to health. Public health experts are advocating taking vaccination campaigns and sites to rural, hard-to-reach communities in order to create awareness, educate and administer vaccines for effective outcomes. The advocacy follows zero or missed vaccination doses during immunization, which makes children susceptible to infections and contracting some vaccine-preventable diseases. In this report, Trust TV's Aisha Salihu engages with nursing mothers to find out the challenges and factors leading to increased zero or missed doses for children in Nigeria. The report.
Globally, more than 22.7 million children are estimated to be zero or missed dose, of which an estimated 3.1 million or 14% reside in Nigeria, despite routine national immunization schedule providing vaccines for many of the childhood vaccine-preventable diseases. This is an immunization clinic at the State House Medical Center in the nation's capital, where factors such as maternal education, poverty, misinformation, among others, are said to be responsible for non-adherence to routine immunization schedules.
That they may say, no, my people don't like this, that we shouldn't give immunization. And then secondly, is misinformation. Yes, you say, if I take this immunization, if I give my child this immunization later in life, that child will not have children. So sterilization, you understand, that is the notion that the people have, which is not correct.
For some, I would say they're not well informed and not informed about immunization or do not understand the importance of immunization. And for some, probably cultural reasons, I don't know, best known to them. For some, it may be distance, probably because of transportation, and then for others, probably because of reaction to immunization in the past for their previous children. They feel reluctant to come up for immunization, and therefore they miss it.
On effectiveness and sustainability for childhood immunization, stakeholders say there is need to constantly raise awareness on the life-saving importance of vaccines and close immunization coverage gaps.
You can take it to their doorsteps, just like we do with oral polio, just like we did with fractional inactivated polio. We go to the communities. You understand? We go to the communities, and then you have just a particular point, you sit there, and then you call them to come for the vaccines. It's working. Where they go to their farms, we go to the farms with our vaccination carriers and everything and our vaccines, and we immunize them there. So I think that will help. But you know what is happening, the brain drain. And so we don't have enough hands. I can't work here and be visiting the community at the same time.
Regular childhood immunization is said to reduce the health burden on families and health facilities in communities. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The National Primary Healthcare Development Agency has expressed its commitment towards supporting traditional rulers in the fight against the lingering polio pandemic in the 19 northern states of the Federation. NPHCDA Executive Director Dr. Faisal Shaibu made this declaration during the strategic meeting with Northern Traditional Leaders Committee on PHC delivery strategy with traditional leaders of inaccessible areas in Kaduna. Dr. Faisal Shaibu said the agency will remain resolute resolute, in educating, enlightening and advocating across communities on the significance of its fight against polio so that their respective areas will be polio-free. The Sultan of Sokoto, Saad Abubakar, and the Emir of Argungu, Samaila Muhammad Mera, said the traditional leaders in the 6 states will be involved fully for ensuring polio vaccination exercise reaches targeted children in their respective areas. While the governor of Kaduna State, who was represented by his deputy, Dr. Hadiza Balarabe, calls on all well-meaning Nigerians to be involved in this fight to eradicate polio completely in the country.
We do not lack the problem solutions to our problems because of meetings and what we lack is implementation. Because we sit down here and we talk very beautiful Hausa, beautiful English, but no beautiful Gangi, beautiful Hausa, a fruitful day. They speak in very beautiful language. Attaching the taro, we go to our homes, and that's the end of it. We come back again, we repeat the same thing without implementing the previous decision we have taken. That's why we urge our leaders, especially the political leaders, try and implement. If you have a 10-point decision that you arrive at, I need 2, 3, or 4. For us to know we have started somewhere. It's not possible to do everything at the same time. We know the problems we face, but we should be implementing some of the resolutions that were taken.
We have the tools, we have the knowledge, and we have the experience and the collaboration with the traditional leaders. This is why we're here today, because we want to listen to the traditional leaders to understand better how we can actually reach children that are now inaccessible due to security challenges. They have to be the ones, because they are closest to their communities, to help us figure out how we can reach these children. Where are these children, even with the insecurity in their communities? What is the best way for us to reach them with primary healthcare services? It is only our collaboration and solidarity with our local leaders that made it possible for us to eradicate the white polio virus. This is why we're going back to the trenches, again seeking their support, their leadership, to make sure that we actually eradicate the CVPV2s by the end of this year.
UNICEF Nigeria is committed to partnering with the government of Nigeria to strengthen the primary healthcare system in several ways. In this year's campaign, UNICEF has supported the states with campaign vaccines, such as the delivery of about 8 million doses of FIPV, 26 million units of 0.1 milliliter syringes, and 1.5 million doses of NOPV vaccines. To increase the demand for vaccination in communities, UNICEF supported 3 states, namely Kaduna, Kano, and Katsina, to engage 3,000 volunteers within the community to supervise the delivery of these vaccines.
The Lagos state government has issued a fresh flood alert to residents of some parts of the state. In a statement signed on Tuesday by the Permanent Secretary, Office of Drainage Services and Water Resources, Lekon Shodende, the state government urged residents to be wary of heavy rainfall in the coming days. The state government urged residents of Apapa, Badagry, Etiosa, Ikeja, Ikorodu, Ikoyi, Lagos Island, Ojo to prepare for very heavy rainfalls, which may induce flash flooding during the week and beyond. The state was relying on a flood alert advisory issued by the Flood Emergency Warning System Central Hub of the Federal Ministry of Environment, and Shodende urged all residents of listed areas to be vigilant and watchful about rainfalls during and after the periods. The state also urged residents of flood plains and low-lying areas to be ready to move upland till the cessation of the rains. It reiterated that people and motorists must also refrain from wading through floods, especially during rainfalls, as there is a propensity to be washed away by the intensity of water. And with that, we move to education, where the newly appointed Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology in Zamfara, Wadato Madawaki, says science and technical education will remain top priority of the state's educational policy. Madawaki, one of the 18 commissioners sworn in on Tuesday by Governor Dauda Lawal, addressed newsmen in Gusau on Wednesday. Zamfara State Governor Lawal Dere had, while swearing in 18 new commissioners, introduced the performance index for cabinet members in the state. The commissioner explained that the state would adopt such policies, particularly at the basic level, so that school children would be prepared with techniques and skills to aid self-employment in future. Nigerian communities have been warned to be vigilant while buying prescription and over-the-counter medication from hawkers. They have also been urged to be careful while patronizing fruit sellers, as some have been known to use calcium carbide to ripen the fruits due to the dangers it poses to people's health. Director General of the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, Mojishola Adeyeye, gave the warning at a one-day media sensitization against the ugly practice in the Northeast region held in Bauchi. Trust TV's Adamu Imam completes the report.
Mok Pariola, Director Chemical Evaluation and Research of the agency, the NAFDAC DG, said the dangerous practice by is killing innocent members of the society. This, she said, justifies the need to collaborate with the media to create awareness for members of the public to be cautious and abstain from patronizing them.
NAFDAC is advocating that we all must work together to make sure that we move this country forward, because killing one another will not solve our problem. Trying to get money by selling fake products or by hawking drugs or by ripening fruit with a calcium carbide or falsifying date markings in product, that is never going to help anybody.
Other notable speakers assure that with constant direct engagement with many Nigerians, these nefarious activities will be minimized. The state coordinator of the agency urged Nigerians to speak out whenever they come across such dangerous people as part of their contribution against the practice.
When the ABC people carrying out such nefarious activities, they should come to our office and report to our office here, the Federal Secretariat. You know, some of them will do it the night, will not be there, ripening them. You have neighbors. So you know the activities they are carrying out, and it's illegal activities, nefarious activities concerning our mandate, and particularly these aspects of no cooking and ripening of fruits. You cannot reach everywhere.
The sensitization attracted stakeholders as well as the media from the Northeast region as part of effort to stem the menace. Adami Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
You're still watching News Hour. We'll be back after this break.
This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back. Operatives of the Nigerian Navy NNS Pathfinder, Port Harcourt, Rivers State, have arrested a marine vessel, MV Cecilia, laden with about 350,000 liters of petroleum products suspected to be diesel. Commander Operation Delta Safe, Rear Admiral Olusegun Ferreira, announced this on Wednesday. Ferreira, represented by the Maritime Component Commander of the Joint Task Force for South-South of the Operation Delta Safe, Navy Commodore Adedokun Shiyembade, displayed the vessel to journalists in Port Harcourt. He said the vessel, which has not been put to use for 2 years, was converted to a storage tank for illegally refined products. He said as part of the efforts at optimizing and ensuring that the mandates of the OPDS are actualized, the Commander Joint Task Force South-South of OPDS directed that the NSS Pathfinder to conduct a covert operation in the area. He said they got intelligence that illegality was going on within the area, adding that operation, which was conducted on 15th of August, led to the arrest of MV Cecilia. He said the suspects, as well as the vessel and products, will be handed over to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission for prosecution. Moving on, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited has secured a $3 billion crude oil repayment loan from Afri-Exim Bank. NNPC Limited secured the crude for cash funding from Afri-Exim Bank headquarters in Cairo, Egypt. NNPC said in a terse statement on Wednesday that the NNPC Limited and Afri-Exim Bank have jointly signed a commitment letter and term sheet for an emergency $3 billion crude oil repayment loan. Details of the agreement was sketchy at the time of this report. With that, we move on to the international scene, where gun battles between two leading armed groups in the Libyan capital Tripoli has killed 27 people and wounded 106. The toll update was disclosed by the Emergency Medicine Center on Wednesday. The center, which provides emergency services in the west of Tripoli, published the provisional toll on its Facebook page overnight. The clashes between the influential 444 Brigade and the Al-Rada, or Special Deterrence Force, two of the myriad of militias that have vied for power since the overthrow of longtime dictator Muammar Gaddafi in 2011, erupted on Monday night and raged through Tuesday. The center said a total of 234 families were evacuated from frontline areas in the capital's southern suburbs, along with dozens of doctors and paramedics who got trapped by the fighting while caring for the wounded. 3 field hospitals and a fleet of around 60 ambulances had been deployed to the area when the fighting broke out. An Interior Ministry official said the clashes were triggered by the detention of the head of the 444 Brigade, Colonel Mahmoud Hamza, by the rival Al-Rada force on Monday. Now in sports, England reached the Women's World Cup final for the first time as they spoiled co-host Australia's party on a historic evening in Sydney. Silencing a sellout crowd at Stadium Australia with their 3-1 victory, the Lionesses became the first English side since 1966 to reach the final on the world stage. It caps a sensational 2-year under manager Serena Wigman as England crowned European champions for the first time last year on home soil. Ella Toone gave England the lead in the first half with a superb first-time strike which sailed into the top corner. The Lionesses controlled proceedings until the second half when Australia threw everything at them and star striker Sam Kerr, starting her first match of the tournament, struck a 25-yard stunner over goalkeeper Mary Earps' head to make it 1-1. But England, as they so often do, found a way back into the game when Lauren Hem pounced on a defensive error to restore their lead before Alicia Russo made sure of victory late on the setup, a final with Spain on Sunday. And finally, the Nigerian Football Federation on Wednesday said it has opened negotiations with Jose Peseiro over a new contract as national coach. NFF President Ibrahim Gusau, who disclosed this, said Peseiro had been on a 1-year contract which ended in July. Gusau said talks were held up because of the delay in the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations on which the contract was based. The competition will be held in January and February. Peseiro has led Nigeria to qualification with the game to spare. Sources said the NFF want Peseiro to accept a huge cut on his monthly $70,000 salary in a new contract that will run at least until the end of the competition in Ivory Coast. He said a decision on Waldron would also have to be taken soon as the team will begin their qualification campaign for the 2024 Paris Olympics next month. And with that, we've come to the end of News Hour on Trust TV. Don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. Thanks for watching.
From the Daily Trust News Center, This is the News Hour.